All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and the sincere salutations to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Aquas who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwat is sisters. Shalom means peace, and Yashar is Israel in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Now, I want to go into a lesson through the spirit on this quick interview of Thomas Sowell on Fox News. Lord willing, this be edifying. All right, and for those who don't know, Thomas Sowell is a conservative who has written many books. Basically, in a nutshell, he is a guy who has let the so-called white man off the hook concerning what he's done to our people. All right, one of the ways he's done that is he's tried to say that all nations have had other people in slavery. All right, he uses these narratives to say that basically our people are making terrible decisions, and that's why our people are in a lower state that they're in this society. That there's a reason why a few Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans make it to the top, and that's based on their decisions. It's not based on a systemic situation in Babylon the Great. All right. So I'm just going to start this interview, and Lord willing, this be edifying, and then I'll grab some precepts as well.
New book out, Social Justice Fallacies by Thomas Sowell. You can get it at Amazon.com or any major bookstore. It is a fantastic book, and I want to welcome you, Dr. Sowell, and let me just say this to you. I've been following you since I was a little kid, not to date both of us, and you had an enormous impact on my life. In fact, you've had an enormous impact on the way I do this program. I remember you on with...
And see, guys like Thomas Sowell is somebody that the so-called white man loves to put on a pedestal because he basically holds the so-called white man guiltless concerning the atrocities that they've done, concerning the transfer of wealth from our people. All right. The unjust dealings concerning Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans working for free for hundreds of years with no restitution. Guys like Thomas Sowell is just a black face that excuses the so-called white man's atrocities. But the Lord is not going to excuse him. All right, let's go here. This is Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 5. Let's start at 4. The Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And the nation that's described as the wicked is Esau Edom, which today would be the so-called white man as he's self-proclaimed himself. All right. His biblical nationality is Esau Edom, and he's considered the wicked. All right. For edification, let's go here. Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So they're described as the border of wickedness. All right, when you go here in Malachi, and I just want to read this in the NLT. There's Malachi 1 and 4. It says, Esau's descendants in Edom may say, we have been shattered, but we will rebuild the ruins. But the Lord of heaven's armies replies, they may try to rebuild, but I will demolish them again. Their country will be known as the land of wickedness, and their people will be called the people with whom the Lord is forever angry. So their borders, they're described as the territory of wickedness. All right. When you deal with the rise of Alexander the Greek, that was the point where wickedness, transgression increased in the earth. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here. Salakia. Bear with me because I just want to take my time and grab these precepts because, again, there may be some that don't know all right, who Esau Edom is, who the so-called white man is today, and how it relates to everything that's happening in the earth according to prophecy. All right. When Isaac gave the blessing to Esau, he said that he would live by the sword, but eventually he would be taken down and Jacob would have the dominion forever. All right. Esau rules the world. The so-called white man rules the world by the sword. And though guys like Thomas Sowell will like to hold this man not guilty for what he's done, the Lord remembers and the Lord requires that which is past. All right. Real quick, for edification's sake, this is First Maccabees chapter 1 and 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So this is showing in two places where the so-called white man as a nation of people are described as the wicked as a nation. All right. And when their rulership began, evils were multiplied on the earth. All right. So we are living in the revived Roman Empire. All right. This is the complete evolution of Esau Edom. All right. Becoming that dragon from the snake in the garden to the dragon. All right. Yet the Lord is going to bring him down. All right. And guys like Thomas Sowell is a guy that the so-called white man loves to put in front of our people to basically blame our people for the condition that they're in. To basically write off redlining, chattel slavery, all right, the lack of distribution of wealth concerning our people. Forget about all of that and just chalk it up to our people making bad decisions in the ghetto. All right. Guys like Thomas Sowell is one of those guys that they use to prop up that agenda. And because he uses big words, he's no different than what's the guy? The pastor guy. I forget his name. His name escapes me, but he's basically like a Uncle Ruckus, so to speak. Now, Thomas Sowell, sometimes he'll make good points, but overall, his overall viewpoint is that the so-called white man is not guilty concerning what he's done to our people, and that it's our people's bad decisions that have put us in this predicament. All right. This is Proverbs 16 and 5. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though hand joining in hand, he shall not be unpunished. All right. And this is Thomas Sowell's desire, that the so-called white man is not punished. And he's basically saying that our people are making poor decisions. And that's the reason for the huge wealth gap between our people. Keep in mind, when you look at the numbers, I think the latest study, the average study that people pull from is about 2016 or 2019, says the median household. All right. That's two people in a household or a single household. The average income of a black family is around $20,000 at the most. All right. And then, matter of fact, let's go here. All right. So this is from Brookings.edu. It's from December 8, 2020. All right. I'm going to just hit the point. All right. It says wealth inequality preceding COVID-19. In 2019, and the median white household held $188,200 in wealth, 7.8 times that of the typical black household, $24,100. All right, so I just want to show this, all right, because this is before 2019. And what guys like Thomas Sowell is saying is that this wealth gap is because our people have made terrible decisions. Now, do our people make terrible decisions? That is correct. But it doesn't hold a so-called white man guiltless concerning hundreds of years, all right, of prejudice, chattel slavery, and discrimination. While they were building wealth, Jake was basically tied, hands tied behind our back. Now, we know that's according to prophecy. All right, the scripture said that they will bind up the strong man. All right, yet the scripture said that we would stand bold as a lion, roughly paraphrasing Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, against those who made no account of our people's labors. And guys like Thomas Sowell is guys that they use and put up as a guy that says with a black face, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are to blame for the condition that you're in as a people. All right, so let's listen to it.
With Bo Buckley and Firing Line and And you were a killer debater. Absolutely unbelievable. All that said, let me start it this way. Social justice fallacies. You started out like as a Marxist, as many young people do in colleges and universities. And it didn't take long for you to realize, wait a minute, this isn't all that it's cooked up to be. Was this social justice stuff and this inequality stuff, these terms, these ambiguities, did that have an impact on you first being a Marxist and then realizing, wait a minute, this is all BS?
Yes, it did. And I think there's a very simple explanation that as of the time I became a Marxist, I didn't know as much as I knew after several years of study and observing things going on. And as facts carried a lot of weight with me, and when the facts kept going the wrong way, I realized that this was not going to do what it claimed it was going to do. One of the big problems about the social justice field is that what they say sounds so good. It's only after you study history that you find out just how bad, how horribly it actually turned out.
Well, these phrases are very nebulous. Social justice. What does that mean? Basically, if you agree with the Marxists and the leftists, then you support social justice. But on the other hand, if you support individuality and capitalism and private property rights, obviously you're anti-social justice. What does all this mean?
Well, that's how they look at it. They seem to assume a world in which if things don't turn out the same for everybody, that means that somebody has done somebody wrong. And that's an incredible assumption that human beings have such enormous control over their own fates individually or collectively. I mean, when I think back over my life, and I'm sure other people can do the same in their lives, there are times that a particular person appeared on the scene and changed the whole trajectory of my life. And it's happened more than once, and I'm sure it's happened in the lives of many other people. There's nobody out there who has all the incredible amount of knowledge required to take over making other people's decisions for them.
Now, see, this is an example of him basically in a roundabout way telling our people that the condition that we're in as a nation of people is based on individual decisions. Now, again, our people do make poor decisions, yet the reason our people are relegated to the ghettos, all right, this is just one of many examples. The reason our people are relegated to the ghettos is because during the time where you could get houses at an affordable price, our people were redlined to the ghetto. One of the key ways of building wealth is home ownership. Now, during the post-World War II, when the economy was in full swing, so to speak, these Edomites were able to build wealth based on low interest rate loans, help from the government. But at the same time, Jake was being redlined. And the reason I'm bringing this out is because wealth is built over generations. One generation making a good decision doesn't necessarily help you catch up when the gap is this big. All right. And this all goes back to prophecy, first and foremost. All right. Let's go here. This is Isaiah chapter 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. And see, they use a guy like Thomas Sowell to say, no, you're not robbed. You're not spoiled. You're not exploited as a people. You just make bad decisions. And that's why you are in the ghettos. And that's why there's a wealth gap as big as it is. A wealth gap as big as it is doesn't happen in one generation. All right. And this shows you through the spirit and power of by Shemal Shah that everything ultimately goes back to prophecy. Because again, the Lord did this to us. All right. Because again, a lot of people will hear this and they'll say, well, you guys just blame the so-called white man for everything. And that's not the case. All right. The Lord said that matter of fact, let's just read it. Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned, for they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. So think about this, right? The Lord is asking a rhetorical question. He's saying, who gave our people to the robbers? So the Lord at this point is acknowledging that the so-called white man is a robber. But he's also saying that the reason that they were able to exploit us was because the Lord gave us into their hands. It doesn't mean that the robber gets to go away guiltless without punishment. What it means is that ultimately the Lord put us in this condition. All right. This is Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 12. For thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. And guys like Thomas Sowell help the so-called white man sleep at night. Because they look at a so-called Negro saying that they're not at fault for what's happened to our people. And it helps them sleep at night. But the Lord is not going to allow them to go altogether unpunished, man. All right. Now let's continue.
Do you find that these radicals, these autocrats, basically, this term social justice, do they really mean centralized government, redistribution of wealth, a permanent government that undermines representative government? Isn't this really the nomenclature for that?
It is. And if you realize what enormously high opinions many of the intellectual elites have of themselves, you can see that what it boils down to is very intellectual people like themselves just simply preempting the decisions of other people in every aspect of their lives. One of the things that is astonishing to me now is that we're having this big debate about sex education in the schools. And to me, the question is, what qualifies the people who are pushing this stuff to take over the roles of parents?
And see, this is the thing, right? Let's go here. Let's go to Revelation, the 13th chapter, because our people get caught up in these movements, not realizing that a lot of this is just controlled opposition. All right. A lot of this is just one side looking like they're fighting against another, but it's all pushing towards one common agenda. And our people get caught in the mud between the right wing and the left wing, not realizing that it's Edomites on both sides. It's Edomites on both sides. All right. And the reason I bring that out is because when our people subscribe to movements like the Black Lives Matter, what did they do with that? They used that whole movement to push the alphabet community. And now whenever you hear about our people and the things that we go through as a nation of people, now the alphabet community is attached to that. When you think about it and you look at it in this new age, the alphabet community is attached to anything that goes on with so-called social justice. Because, again, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans wasn't the ones fighting for the alphabet community to be placed in schools concerning education. But they lump it all together. All right. Now, let's continue real quick before we do that. This is Revelation chapter 13 and 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. All right. And these blasphemies, all right, are coming from both sides. All right. The right wing and the left wing. All right. And our people get caught up in these movements, not realizing that it's the same beast. All right. Matter of fact, let me grab this. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Now, in this modern day age, the Republicans and the Democrats are two horns on the same dragon. There are two different horns on the same dragon, similar to the Roman Empire, where you had the plebs and the patricians. The patricians would be comparable to the Republicans today. The patricians were the wealthy class. The plebs were the common people, which is the modern day Democratic Party. But they all were a part of the same beast system. All right. And this is what the Lord told us so that we didn't get caught up in these things, because our people are trying to pick right or left concerning this political system. And the Lord's will is to destroy this, man. All right. And guys like Thomas Sowell will get our people caught up in this whole the so-called white man isn't to blame. It's our people making bad decisions. And we should just follow Trump and the other conservatives to the light at the end of the tunnel. It's no light at the end of this tunnel, man. All right. The Lord's going to destroy this place for what they've done to our people, whether guys like Thomas Sowell want to admit it or not. All right.
Critical race theory, the 1619 Project, these are really anti-knowledge, aren't they? They're really propaganda devices for the hard left that are being, pushed in our classrooms, pushed in our society, and so forth. These attacks on the American system, do they promote equality? Do they promote unity? Do they promote a melting pot society, or are they intended to destroy this culture?
Clearly, it's the latter. And also, when you said
Now, I want to bring this out, right? Because, the so-called white man was very subtle in this statement. All right, because he slid critical race theory in the 1619 Project, which was basically dealing with our people going into captivity and that history on that. Because basically the so-called white man is using the outrage of critical race theory in the 1619 Project to really just erase the shame of their history. All right. And guys like Thomas Sowell is just a shield, man. All right. He's a shield for the so-called white man in 2023, man. To basically say that they have no fault. That what's been done to us as a nation of people is the past, and it has no effect on where our people are today. All right. Now, I want to go here real quick, because really what the so-called white man is doing very subtly, all right, is he is using this narrative of we need to create unity in the country. And he's going to use that to erase history, man. If it was up to him, he's just going to use that to just not talk about it. And one of his excuses is that we don't want kids to think that they're victims. We don't want nobody to look at the young white kids as oppressors. And they're going to use that as a reason to not tell the truth at all. All right. Real quick, this is Habakkuk 2. And when you look at history, it's obvious. We're in 2023 and we have to fight to tell our people who we actually are in the scriptures. Why? Because of all the lies that they've been fed since children. What do you think he's moving to do now? We've mentioned this a couple times, but they removed those statues. It wasn't doing you a favor, Jake. It was ensuring that your next generation, the children that you have in the next generation, once they take it out the history books, they won't even know the gravity of your captivity, because they're gradually removing it from history. Real quick, this Habakkuk 2 and verse 16. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. And that's exactly what's happening. And that's why they're putting legislation in to not teach certain things concerning history, with the argument being we don't want to raise victims. We don't want kids to grow up thinking that they're oppressors because of what happened in this country. So they're just going to not acknowledge the truth at all. And that shows you that Esau is ashamed of it now. But the reason he has to work so hard is because they were so proud of what they were doing while they were doing it, that they've left the evidence everywhere. Statues, books on top of books on what they did to us. They glorified it. And now it's coming back to bite them in the ass. And now they're looking at it like, oh, We got to erase this. Now it's a shame unto them. And it's beautiful through the spirit, because guys like Thomas Sowell are not going to let the so-called white man's not going to be let off the hook. Guys like Thomas Sowell use these big words. They are highly educated in Esau's system. All right. And they bring this guy out, wipe the dust off of him. He writes a new book. All right. And the so-called white man eats it up because, again, it helps them sleep at night. They got a so-called Negro telling them that it's not their fault. That they're right. Our people are animals and hoodlums. And because we're poor and broke and destroyed as a people because of our own bad decisions. Statistics show that the so-called white man do just as many crimes as you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but they're not incarcerated on the same level. Why is that? And that's just one of many examples, because ultimately through the spirit, we know that this is all the will of the Lord. The Lord did this to us. But the so-called white man is still a robber. And the Lord, matter of fact, let's go there, man. Let's get it. And we're not even mad at this guy. It's just a point through the spirit that you got guys like this, all right, who, though he uses big words, you can see right through the whole facade, man. It's Stockholm Syndrome with a PhD. All right, this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. And guys like Thomas Sowell, because he had somebody intervene in his life and he became successful as an author or whatever the case may be, he basically uses his own life experience to disregard the life experience of most of his people, of the history of his own people. Yet, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shah, the so-called white man is not going to go unpunished. And that's why we rejoice in knowing that the Lord is a judge, man. Because the way this thing is going, the so-called white man is just going to write slavery completely out of history. 15 years, 20 years, 30, 40 years from now, you'll have, if they even show slavery again, it'll be white people in the cotton fields. And white people, he's just trying to remove the guilt, remove the shame. But the Lord requires that which is past, man. All right, this is Psalms 58:10. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked, so that a man shall say, verily there is a power, Salakia, verily there's a reward for the righteous. Verily here's a power that judgeth in the earth. All right. In this case, it went to the Supreme Court, and that is Yahweh Shemel Shah. And the Lord's about to judge this world in a way that they've never seen before, man. All right. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and the sincere salutations to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.